Good evening, everybody. I'm reporting to you live from the Joe Louis Arena in downtown Detroit, where the Republican National Convention is now officially underway. Right now, that arena, with a seating capacity of approximately 16,000, is relatively quiet. The convention activity is going to resume at 8 p.m. this evening. It'll be carried, of course, by ABC on Channel 7 Live. But if you were anywhere in the Detroit downtown area today, you know that this was not a quiet day this July in Detroit. There was pomp and circumstance, excitement and enthusiasm. There were some demonstrations, and some are still now going on. Thousands of people, as a matter of fact, are milling around the downtown Detroit area. More activity than this old industrial city has seen in years and years. And the star of the Republican show, California's former Governor Ronald Reagan, arrived here late this afternoon. When this convention comes to its conclusion Thursday of this week, Mr. Reagan will leave as the Republican candidate for the office of the U.S. presidency. Well, of one thing that we can all be very sure, everywhere that Ronald Reagan goes, he's going to be greeted by crowds of very enthusiastic supporters this week. That's what happened at the airport today, although it was relatively quiet and a relatively small crowd out there. And that is certainly what happened when Governor Reagan arrived at his campaign headquarters, the Renaissance Center downtown. I mean, it was just people to people. Channel 7's Steve Handelsman, with the Reagan campaign, was on hand in the plaza when Mr. Reagan arrived earlier today.
If you were making a Hollywood movie about the presidential nomination, this is how it would look. A screaming crowd, bright lights, dozens of reporters, and a smiling, vibrant candidate. Ronald Reagan made his way into the Detroit Plaza at 4:10. For hours ahead of time, Wren sent security, and the Secret Service carefully arranged exactly where the candidate would walk through the hotel. Network camera crews checked and rechecked camera angles. The Reagan staff placed hundreds of banners and balloons, and Reagan youth organizers assembled and incited hundreds of pro-Reagan demonstrators. It was all perfect. Perfect for Ronald Reagan.
So I'm pleased that we're here, and I hope that when we leave this city, the people of Michigan, the people of Detroit, will know that in our hearts, we are determined, all of us, to change this and to make America great again. Thank you very much. Thank you.
After the rally here at the Detroit Plaza, Ronald Reagan, his wife Nancy, and top Reagan staffers left this site here and went upstairs to their 69th floor private headquarters. At 6:30, they'll emerge for a special delegate reception over at Cobo Hall. We'll be there with the Reagan campaign in the Renaissance Center. This is Steve Handelsman, Channel 7 Action News, reporting.
Now, this morning's opening session of the convention went very, very smoothly. It was well orchestrated, well organized. The mood was festive. More than 2,000 delegates listened, part of the time, at least, to the pre-convention entertainment. There were performances by a Boy Scout troop from the Detroit area, and singer Pat Boone, then Glenn Campbell and Tanya Tucker sang the national anthem. A minister from Washington, D.C. delivered the opening prayer of this 1980 convention. Next came GM Chief Thomas Murphy, who is the chairman of the Civic Committee, which is hosting the convention. Murphy introduced Detroit Mayor Coleman Young, who welcomed the Republicans to a largely Democratic area.
For 279 years, successive tides of diverse people have pursued America's dreams of freedom and equality in this city. Your decision to come to the heartland of industrial America to address yourselves to the large minority, ethnic, blue-collar group that constitute this city, in my opinion, was a wise political decision. No party deserves to be elected to lead this nation unless it can take into account the problems of our city.
Michigan Delegate John Naw, who is Reagan's state chairman and one of Mr. Reagan's convention floor leaders, has the job of seeing, simply put, bluntly, there is no debate.
It looks that way, and no minority reports. There has been some talk this morning that there may be several minority reports on the platform. Again, I don't know the final outcome on that.
In your judgment, do they have the 27 votes on the platform committee that would be required to get a minority report out here?
They didn't have it this morning, so I doubt whether they'll have it this afternoon, but it's a possibility.
By the way, that white ball cap designates John Naws, Reagan's man, and the Michigan delegation to do whatever needs to be done.
The Renaissance Center was hopping all weekend long, as you know, but it's really hopping now that Ronald Reagan's here. You had that exactly right. Right now, here on the second level, a little rally just concluded for Jack Kemp of New York. These people here want to have Kemp put into nomination by Ronald Reagan. Right now, as we speak, Ronald Reagan, his wife, his staff, his entire entourage, they're up in the Detroit Plaza, up on the 69th floor, having private staff meetings right now. And Reagan is not bowing to the kind of conservative pressure that you hear behind me here. As a matter of fact, he's keeping a straight, moderate line, both before and after his arrival here in Detroit. He is not bowing to conservative pressure to keep Paul Laxalt, conservative from Nevada, to keep Jack Kemp, and to keep, who is it? That's right, a lot of yelling back here. Jesse Helms of North Carolina, the three most conservative vice presidential would-be candidates on his list. Instead, he is still considering George Bush, who won the Michigan primary, who's the personal choice of Michigan Governor Milliken. He's still considering Senator Richard Lugar of Indiana, another moderate, and he was considering Howard Baker before Baker took himself out of the running today. In another move toward moderation, Ronald Reagan still says he'll meet with backers of the ERA tomorrow. He will not meet with Helen Milliken. She will march instead. And a very straight and moderate course so far from here, Bill. A lot of the delegates have left the Renaissance Center. They're moving your way, where Reagan will meet with delegates in a special reception in just about 1 hour's time. Actually, about a half hour from now, 6:40. So they're moving your way. I'm coming your way to cover that for the 11 o'clock news. Back to you.
Okay. Thanks very much, Steve. You really sort of wonder what is ultimately going to turn the Reagan decision as to who his running mate is going to be. What's going to be the last bit of influence? I talked to one Republican last night at a function that we attended, and he said, well, I don't think it's going to be George Bush because Nancy just doesn't like George Bush and doesn't think that Ronnie should run with him. So I suppose sometime between now and the day that the announcement is made by Ronald Reagan, he's going to sit down and say, well, what do you think, Nance? Who would you vote for? And you really wonder if that's maybe how the decision is ultimately going to be made. Who knows? I guess Governor Reagan and Nancy know. And if they're listening and you'd like to give us a scoop, why just call us right over here, Mr. Governor and or Nancy.